What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Messi and Co. I'm Ashley with my awesome co-host Gian, and we are back to talk about lots of things about Inter Miami, about Messi, a preview for the game against LA Galaxy tomorrow. Lots of Messi in the news, just exciting things. You know, we're in it. We're in the MLS season. We're in the Inter Miami season. We're in the Messi season. Lots of exciting stuff happening. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, especially after last Wednesday's win. So I was definitely feeling good, especially after that preseason. Definitely had a lot of doubts, had a bit of nervousness there, but that's kind of gone away now. So I'm just excited for the continuing of the season. Excited to us as Messi and Co to get back on track. We're getting a lot of episodes out, a lot of content out. So that's just exciting, and ready to talk about what we got ready for everybody today.
Totally. Yeah. That's a great reminder before we even start. If you're not, I know you're obviously watching this on YouTube or listening to this as a podcast. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, Messi and Co, on Instagram and on TikTok, Messi and Co, 5 Reasons Sports Network. We're there. We're posting lots of content. We're posting parts of our episodes, things we want to talk about, ideas, etc. Providing the latest news on Messi, on MLS, on Inter Miami. Our thoughts and just our perspective on what's happening with soccer and with the league. And so make sure you're following us. Lots of cool stuff there. We'll make sure to link it in the description. But lots of good things to talk about. And we'll start with what I think is a really fun topic and kind of part of the impetus of the show, which is Messi's impact. And the question I will pose to you, and I'll ask you it before I give you my answer, is Messi the most popular athlete in America after only being here for 5 or 6 months? What do you think?
I mean, it certainly seems like it. You know, you go to you see Messi jerseys all over the place. You see Messi jerseys in different cities. You see Messi jerseys at different sporting events that don't even have to do with soccer. You see them on the streets. I mean, it's just insane the effect that Messi has had on this country. Before Messi arrived here, I mean, when's the last time you saw an Inter Miami jersey outside of Miami? Like, it's incredible. I think he's up there with the likes of like some of the most popular athletes here in the US, like, Tom Brady. You talk about like LeBron, you talk about D Wade, those types of players. Like, I almost would say like you see more Messi jerseys than you see jerseys of those guys, and that's probably the most popular sport in the USA, other than maybe the NFL and those sorts of things. But it's crazy. It is definitely crazy. And not just, like Messi before America was more of like an international name. Like, I don't know. To me, it's just crazy. I went to Ecuador recently, and man, I mean, there were more Messi jerseys in Ecuador than there was Ecuadorian jerseys, which was surprising. So he's just made a great impact on us, and it's just exciting to have him here.
I totally agree. I was at a Heat game last month, and a Miami Heat basketball game, for those who don't know, which is, I would say, over the last, probably 20 years, if you want to say 10. I think football is still king in America, but the Heat was the most popular team in Miami by like a huge stretch, because they were always very good, and they are very good still. I saw minimum 20 Messi jerseys, either from Inter Miami, Barcelona, PSG, or Argentina. At least 20, just people wearing Messi jerseys. And I was like, yeah, it's crazy. I agree. I think he is too. It's still the hottest ticket in the country right now to come see him play in Miami. Will Smith at the game on Wednesday. And it's just awesome. And, specifically the reason I ask is because according to a new poll by SSRS Research, Messi is the most popular athlete in America in Q4 last year. So from, September to December of last year, he was the most popular athlete in the whole entire country, the one that everyone was talking about, the most searches, the most social media posts about, the most tickets sold, etc. It was him beating out the likes of, Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, Kobe, LeBron, Tom Brady, just in terms of like the overall excitement and posting about him, which is Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, all these people. Lionel Messi beat all of them, and so he is the most popular athlete in America.
We saw him in a Super Bowl commercial. Like that's
one of the most popular athletes in the world.
Yeah, we saw him in a Super Bowl commercial. Like that's insane.
I know. It was a fun commercial too, by the way. I liked it. Yeah, it's true. It's really awesome to see, and we're very lucky that we have him in our backyard, and we get to watch him week in and week out. We get to see him in person. It's pretty cool. So yes, he is the most popular athlete in America, and I think he's probably going to stay the most popular athlete in America for as long as he's playing for Inter Miami, because that is the Messi effect. That is the star power of Messi. Kid best to ever do it.
Yeah, 100%. And especially with how much soccer there will be in the States over the next couple of years, like that just is going to further magnify, I think, the presence that Messi has here, and Messi just being an ambassador for MLS and an ambassador for soccer in the US. I mean, you've got Copa America coming up. You've got a World Cup coming up. You've got, I think, Mundial de Clubes, if I'm not mistaken, or there's something at the club level here in the US. So it's just, I feel like it's perfect timing for Messi to come to the US, and then it's almost like it was meant to be. Like I don't know how else to put it, but just the eyes of the soccer world are on the US over the next few years, and it just so happens to be that we also have the best player in the world here in the US and in Miami, and that just is going to do so well, hopefully, for MLS, and it's going to be something that MLS can build upon. And if Don Garber can do it right, and the owners of the MLS can do things right, they can capitalize on this big time. And over the next few years, we've seen it already start, where you have big names coming to MLS, big names possibly taking less money to play somewhere else, to be able to be part of a league that they see that is growing, that is making big signings. So I'm just hoping that the league takes advantage of this. The league hopefully makes it easier on these teams to spend money, laxes up on some of those budget rules, and maybe adds more DP spots, maybe, I don't know, just tweaks it so that teams aren't so restricted into who they can bring in, but also who they can keep as well. Because unfortunately, we've seen teams have to maneuver around so much where they're letting talent that should be here, that does well for the MLS, have to leave just so they can bring in others. Whereas in other parts of the world, other leagues that we're trying to mimic and try to be like, don't necessarily have such stringent rules around salary. So hopefully, again, just capitalizing on Messi being the most popular athlete in America, all the eyes on MLS in the US over the next few years. I'm hoping big things come out of this, and hopefully 3 years from now, 4 years from now, we can look back at this moment and say, wow, this was like a pivotal moment for MLS and the growth that we've been able to achieve. Yeah.
100% agree. I mean, I think that's, maybe part of kind of like the foresight that Messi had when choosing Miami over Saudi Arabia. Obviously immediately a lot more money in Saudi Arabia, but maybe the opportunities and the future and just the brand recognition and like the ability to build in America is like slightly more appetizing and interesting, and maybe a quote unquote bigger market. We have big stadiums here, like we've talked about previously. A lot of Messi's games that he's going to be playing, again, away games for Inter Miami, are being played in NFL stadiums because they need to be able to fit everyone in it. And so I think the spectacle is here, and it's going to continue to be really big and really exciting and just keep growing. And it's really exciting that we get to be a part of it, and we get to have this community that we're growing of all people watching from all over the world, and, who love Messi, who love soccer, who get to kind of grow with us here.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And with that, I think that our correspondent of gossip sometimes has some interesting stuff about the little feud, you might or might not know about. So tell us more about that, Ash.
Yeah, well, so like you said, I do love drama, and I love gossip. I do. I know I'm a sports person, but I love gossip. I love drama. I think it's really fun. And, there haven't been more dramatic teams than Barcelona in the last ever many years. It's a drama. It's drama. That club is drama. It is. And so, there was obviously a lot surrounding a few years ago when Messi had to leave Barcelona for financial reasons and move to PSG. And a feud, quote unquote, rumor that was flying around a lot was that part of what happened was that Gerard Piqué, been a longtime teammate of Lionel Messi, one of the best, obviously, defenders who played for Spain and who played for Barcelona for a very long time, uh, had gone to the president of Barcelona, which is Joan Laporte, and basically said that you do need to move on from Messi because of the financial constraints and putting on the club, and that you won't be able, we're in a lot of issues, etc. It's a rumor. I don't know if it's 100% true, but there was talks that was part of the reason that in the end Messi had to leave Barcelona. And there was a feud between them. Messi obviously never forgave Piqué for going kind of, behind his back and saying those things. And so what was a very good relationship, teammates, brothers who won so much together, have been on bad terms. And the reason it's come up is because yesterday, Piqué, who's been, does a lot of press and stuff about his Kings League and the stuff he's doing post his professional football career, had said that, and this is a direct quote, Messi took Barcelona to another level. I see Messi happy and in good condition and contributing to the increasing popularity of football in America, which, by the way, is a statement I think all of us, anyone with a pulse would probably agree with. Yes, Messi was the best player to play for Barcelona, and he's adding popularity to soccer in America, like, for sure. There's nothing wrong you can say with those statements, but people obviously are saying, like, why did he say it? I hope Messi's feud has ended. Who knows? I saw it and I was like, it's interesting because, if you need a way to like have popularity and to have your moment and to get clicks and things, and I mean, look, we're no strangers to it as you talk about Lionel Messi, because he is the star,
the most popular athlete in America. But yeah, I mean, I think that if
and you're the Barcelona fan, so you need to give like the real professional kind of feel.
Yeah, so I will say I do agree with you as far as like Barcelona over the last few years. Things have been a little wonky over there, definitely. And if the rumors are true about what Piqué did, then I can obviously understand the rift between that relationship between Messi and Piqué, because, man, like, I think that there was a lot of trust between Piqué and Messi. There was a lot of trust between like the core guys, especially the ones that came out of La Masia, like grew up in the club. These are guys that became family, that, some of them took a more direct route from La Masia directly to Barça. Some guys like Piqué ended up playing in the Premier League and then ended up in Barça. But I feel like that was kind of like a family the entire way, and especially towards the end. And towards the end, a lot of things started to happen as far as like who should leave, who shouldn't. You had Xavi, you had Iniesta. They were growing older. Some of them took a step aside, kind of to. There's such a love for that club, for Barcelona, for the players that play in there. There's especially like a pride because they're also like Blaugranas. They have a lot of pride where they sometimes would put the team before themselves. And I think that that's why guys like Iniesta, guys like Xavi decided to leave the club before they were actually asked to, because they thought that maybe what they had to give wasn't up to par anymore. And they put the success of the club before them, and they took a step aside. Whereas guys like Piqué, there was already like tension there. People were thinking, Piqué just isn't at the level anymore of playing as a starter, and they wanted him to move aside. And they were saying, there were players that maybe weren't being signed, or players that there wasn't enough money to spend on them, or some of the financial issues were because of Piqué, and they were saying that Piqué should have stepped aside all like years ago, but Piqué stayed there and stayed there and stayed there. So then for Piqué to not move off to the side, stay there another season, and then like ask for Messi to leave, if that rumor is true, I feel like it's very damaging, because Messi was still atop of his game. Messi was still a difference maker. He still is now, but I'm saying like at that
I
moment
was
in
about to
time
say,
it
like, if
happened, like
Barcelona would sign us tomorrow and he'd be starting every
yeah,
game.
yeah, exactly. So it was almost seen like, if this is true, and Piqué is in Laporta's ear, telling him, there's financial issues, and there, Messi should we need to not sign Messi. Like maybe he should have been the one. Over the last few years, people have been asking that from him, and he didn't do it. But then he goes in Laporta's ears, get rid of the historical player, the best player in Barcelona history, who is still quote unquote in his prime or towards the end of his prime. Like that makes no sense. And then that was definitely like being stabbed in the back by one of your very good friends. So it's very understandable. So for Piqué to comment on this, it's almost like damage control. It's almost like, let me just try to, maybe it's the first step in repairing or trying to repair some part of that friendship, if any. Because I don't know, Messi is a guy that's kind of quiet. Messi isn't one to be like on the field, okay,
He's
but
very
out of the
into
field,
loyalty, right?
Yeah, he's very into loyalty. He's very reserved. He's very so I mean, look at the guys that he asked to come here: Jordi Alba and Busquets and Suarez. Those are guys who are on record have been some of his closest friends, and I feel like Piqué, if not for this issue, could have been on that list of people that he might have asked to come, because they were very close. These are people that would go to family barbecues together, that would spend a lot of time outside of soccer in the city of Barcelona. So yeah, and
true.
Yeah, so and we haven't seen a lot of, we haven't seen really anything, at least on the news or anything, where Piqué and Messi have been in the same room and amicable towards each other. So when you kind of put the puzzle pieces together, you can kind of think like, yeah, something must have happened. But I don't know. I mean, I'm somebody that likes to see risks and things like this. So hopefully, if maybe this is a step for in the right direction for maybe that relationship to mend itself. Maybe not 100%, but it's definitely those guys have a lot of history between each other, and it'd be nice at some point that they do hash things out between each other if there is some sort of a rift. But yeah,
I agree. And look, you know what I would say? And leave a comment below if you're interested in this. I think what we could also do is we could do an episode that's just like a total deep dive on sort of like that end of the Barcelona sort of regime and era with Messi, and just like the last couple of those years, and all the sort of steps and like the things that led to such a like collapse of one of the greatest clubs in the history of Europe. I went to the Camp Nou a couple years or last year, and seeing the like Mesque un Club, like it's so impactful, and like there's so much history and stuff, and you can just tell that the product and like everything is not what it was. And it's just, there's probably a lot to go with it. Messi had a lot of people who stabbed him in the back when he had to be the one out of everyone to have to leave Barcelona, when it really should have been he was the last person to ever have to leave Barcelona because of all of the contributions he made and etc. And so I think it'd be an interesting deep dive for us to go into. We don't know 100%, truth between all of these things. There could be some, elements of truth to it, where it could have been just kind of like the rifts in the dressing room and the rifts in everyone, at some point was probably like towards the end, I have to make sure that I'm still here, or that I'm still getting, the money in my contract. Like, so there's probably lots of different pieces and sides of the story and this, that, and the other, that I think would be interesting for us to look into. So let us know in the comments if you like an episode on sort of like the end of Barcelona and Messi and all of those players, and, how it led to 4 Barcelona legends now playing for Inter Miami, who for the most part, I mean, like Luis Suarez left when, he was probably the right time for him to leave when he went to Atletico Madrid. And, you know, he ended up bringing them a La Liga title. So it's like he had stuff left in the tank and he left and, you know, took his moment and went somewhere else. Busquets, I think, probably very naturally sort of ended. Same with Alba. It kind of naturally came to its close. And then, you know, Messi obviously was probably very premature in how it had to end. So I just thought it was an interesting topic, something for us to talk about. We always just talk about the here and now with Inter Miami and with Messi. But we are a Messi podcast, and we want to talk about all things about him, his career, his life, what he brings on and off the pitch. So it's fun to talk about those kind of things, right?
Yeah, 100%. And there's definitely a lot more. Like if you actually get into it, there's a lot more,
especially as you with a real Barca fan. Like I'm really only
like the whole Suarez leaving thing was the whole Suarez leaving to Atletico was also like not a good thing. Like it didn't happen in a good way.
Right.
It was definitely,
but it ends up, you know, he brought
a
good amount to that Atletico Madrid team because they ended up winning. So it's
exactly.
Interesting kind of looking at it post, you know, like a few years removed.
Yeah.
Just what it ended up being. So yeah, that I thought was interesting. And like I said, you know, let us know because there's lots to talk about there and there's so much that people have to say and think and, you know, have questions about. But we can kind of turn it now back to the present time, which is about our starting lineup and about the man we have just been speaking about and how he, you know, left Barcelona to go bring a title to another La Liga team. But what about Luis Suarez for our team? You know, I gave my thoughts on Wednesday. To some people's chagrin, I said that I thought Suarez played really well. And I think that maybe the Apple TV coverage didn't capture all of what I was seeing. And maybe some of what I was seeing was a little hyperbolic, where I was just maybe really excited to see him play in person myself and see, you know, a legend, etc. You know, is he still bringing the value as that number 9 for a team that has a lot of ambitions this year? You know, obviously Messi and them have said, you know, we want to continue to win, we win, etc. But they have nothing left to prove, any of them, in terms of who they are as soccer players and going down as the best of all time in their positions, some of the best of all time in their positions, no doubt about that. But we have 4 competitions that Inter Miami is in this year that, for all intents and purposes, we could win all 4. And we have really high expectations for ourselves in this team. And so the question is, should our number 9 be Suarez, or should it be, you know, Leo Campana, or should it be both of them, or should it be going back and forth? You know, there's a lot of questions. So we'll go in there with you, Gian. What do you think? And I'm sure you'll have no bias at all at being Ecuadorian. I'm sure there will be no bias from that. So let's
No, I mean, there's always a little bias. I will say I do really like Campana for sure. But all right, so you and me had a little bit of a conversation about this before we started the episode, but you know, there's only one reason why we brought in Suarez, especially at his age, right? And it's the score goals. Yeah, 100%. And I think that especially at his age, you see it with players that are strikers in his position that are at an older age. For example, like, and again, just going back to Barca, like Lewandowski right now in Barca. When you bring in players like that are really good offensive players that are towards the end of their prime or right outside of their prime, I think you're bringing them in knowing that they're not going to be as athletic. They're not going to be making maybe the runs that they were making earlier on in their career. You're really banking on them being finishers and finishing those goal scoring opportunities, right? And again, that's what Suarez was doing in Brazil. He had 26 goals in 2023 for Brazil. We saw some of those goals, majestic goals. It looked like he was in practice. Like, it was just insane. And it wasn't a lot of them were just him getting the ball and just placing it perfectly, like in perfect angles, really good shots. So I think that that's what you're going to be expecting as an Inter Miami fan, as a club. When you bring in Suarez, you're going to expect that from him. You know, you're giving up a little bit of the defense like you would, you know, from Campana. Because if Campana was there, he runs a bit more. He gets more into the midfield. He becomes a bit more active, helping and pressing and that sort of thing. Whereas Suarez will do that at times, but not as much as he used to. He needs to score goals. So what we saw in the first game, obviously, he had some opportunities. He didn't score. He had an assist. So that's good. He had an assist, right? That's really good. Especially in a game that only had 2 goals. He assisted on half of the goals. He assisted on
And it was a great assist too.
yeah, and it was a great assist. It was a really good assist. So I think that was good. What I would be interested to see is him moving forward. Let's give a 5-10 game sample. If he's not scoring, then that's where he is not a starter in my eyes, because that's what you brought him in for. If he's not scoring in 5 to 10 games, maybe and I'm not talking about him scoring once, I'm talking about maybe scoring 2 to 3 goals in the next 10 games. If he's not doing that, then to me, in my eyes, that's where you look to bring in a younger guy like Campana, have him put in all that energy at the beginning of the game, where he's going to be making the runs. Campana's really good at passing as well. He's really good on helping on the buildup of the game. Putting him in, and then you have Suarez as like a super sub coming in maybe the 75th minute. Also, just depending on how the game is, where you've got a guy that's a really good striker, but you're also putting Suarez in there with a lot more energy, right? He's coming in and playing 25, 30 minutes as opposed to what we saw last game, playing 89 minutes. I know that you are adamant that you actually saw things that maybe we didn't see on television, but I think that at least in the second half, we saw him pretty gassed. Like, I don't know if you noticed it, but he looked gassed early on. And yeah. I don't know if he's an 89-minute type of guy. But that's at least that's where I'm at. I think it's too early to say definitively. So after one game, I'm not going to, the guy had an assist. He played an overall good game, but I will say what I noticed was, again, he wasn't running as much, at least on television from us watching. He didn't run as much as a Campana would have. But I think it was a solid game. I'm not ready to say he's our starter like I was before we brought him in. When we were bringing him in, I was like, man, what I just saw in Brazil, if he replicates that, he's gonna, he is our guy. But let's give him let's give him time. Let's give him 5 to 10 games, see what he does. Again, if he's not scoring goals, he becomes a super sub in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, I think there are a couple good points there. Number one is that, again, it's been one game of the season.
Yeah.
So I think we need to give him, like you said, at least 5 to 10, where he is the comfortable starter. And look, we know with strikers, a huge part of the game is mental, knowing that you are going to be starting week in, week out, not necessarily playing the whole 90 minutes. Like, maybe a good compromise is me saying that, I think that really in the 60th minute to 65th minute, we should probably be starting to see Campana, especially when they're really close games. But maybe it's not necessarily immediately in replace of Suarez. Maybe it's you're seeing both of them up front and you see Suarez come off in like the 75th minute or something. Like, I think that waiting until the 89th minute is not realistic for Suarez for the whole season. Like, he can't play that much, and Campana deserves to play more. So there's definitely middle grounds there. But I think that, I expect Suarez to be scoring, and tomorrow will be a really good litmus test for us because, and we'll get into it in a little bit, LA Galaxy doesn't have the greatest defense, or they didn't last year. We'll see what happens this year. They haven't played their first game yet, so we have to still see. But for all intents and purposes, I feel like I've said that phrase a lot this episode, but, we should have some offensive firepower in this game. And so we'll see how it continues to build. But I think it's way too early to say that Suarez should not be starting because, like you said, he just played in Brazil and scored amazing goals. He is one of, I don't know, like this is top 10. I don't know. I have to really think about it. Like, but he's at least top 20 strikers of all time, right? Would you say? Yeah. I mean, like, to start getting 15, 10, I don't know, like I have to start like really thinking and like laying them out. Yeah. But he's a top 20 striker of all time, probably top 15 striker of all time, which means he knows how to score the ball. Like Zlatan toward the end where his knees were giving out. On any given day for Inter or for AC Milan, I'd still like, okay, bet $10 for Zlatan to score? Probably. Yeah, probably. Even
Yeah.
when he had no knees. Like, probably. So I think the same could be said for Suarez, and we'll have to see. Like I said, I saw a lot of sort of the intangibles and like the parts of his game that I see why he's so valuable to be playing, even if it doesn't directly translate into, he's not the fastest, player. He can't every single time there's a ball over the top. He can't get every single one and score a perfect goal. Like, agreed. But I saw a lot of value there. We'll have to see. I think there is a player kind of needs to have more minutes because he does add a lot of value as well. And so we're going to just have to see. And I think Tata's going to have to see how that plays out. And remember, it was only 1-0 going into the 80th minute and against a team that we didn't know was going to happen. It was the first game of the season, so I thought there was probably a little bit more stiffness from Tata Martino in saying who's going to go in. And, Suarez had been making good choices, been putting good energy in that final third, didn't want to let him leave yet. But again, that could change from game to game. So I think the jury's still out. We'll have to wait and see. I expect to see we already got 1 goal contribution in 1 game, so he's batting 1,000 right now, to give a real American analogy, in terms of like how every game is Suarez providing either a goal or an assist. So far, he has. So we have to see game in game how that looks.
And it's also, we've talked about this before, with the amount of games that there are this season between all the tournaments. There definitely going to be opportunities where Campana is going to start, regardless. Like, even if
or play more minutes. Like tomorrow, I expect him to play more minutes because it's only a 3-day turnaround going to the other side of the country.
Yeah, I mean, even if Suarez is the guy that Tata has said, this is my guy, like in my moments, he's my starter. There are going to be times where Campana starts again, just simply because of the amount of games, especially with the guy that you want to take care of more. And Suarez is definitely a guy you need to take care of more because of not only his age, but obviously the injury history that he has. So I think that goes across the board really for everybody. Everybody on this team is going to get their opportunities. We've talked also about a stacked midfield. Everybody in the midfield will get their opportunities as well. And same thing with the defense. I think everybody across the board is going to get that. And then I know this isn't Suarez specific, but I just wanted to touch on this because it was something that was mentioned by Tata and when he answered a question where I thought it was interesting. He mentioned that he sees Noah Allen as a CB. So that I thought that was really interesting because we've had these conversations before. I've mentioned, to me, Noah Allen isn't a CB. He's played the CB and he's done a good job when he can. He was more of the replacement for Jordi Alba, but apparently Tata sees that differently, and he sees Noah Allen as a center back, despite him not being as tall. So I just wanted to mention that and say that was kind of surprising. So it looks like he's probably going to be one of our CBs, especially when Negri gets back. Negri will probably be the guy behind Jordi Alba, and then and our backup will be Noah Allen at the CB position. So, but yeah, just to kind of sum up, everybody will have their opportunities this season to start.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about Noah Allen a lot, and I think the consensus is that he's a very good soccer player. Like he's young and he's just really, he has great energy. He plays hard and he listens and he does what is asked of him. So I think that maybe is what Tata meant with saying that, like, where I need Allen to play, he plays and he plays hard and he does what I ask him. If it's like he's not 6 foot, so it's not always going to be, perfect, but he's the job that he's asked to do. And I think that's really important and valuable. I mean, it makes me think of like Gary Neville, at Manchester United, where it was someone who he wasn't the tallest and most athletic, but he always did what was asked of him.
Yeah.
And that's really valuable. And so, yeah, and I think it's a good transition where you kind of said like, oh, where is everyone gonna get their chance, or who's gonna be getting their chance? Let's talk about tomorrow's game against LA Galaxy, and let's give kind of our preview and thoughts on it, because immediately, second game of the season, 3 days after our first win, we're going to the West Coast to play one of the most popular franchises in MLS and in American soccer, and who obviously our owner David Beckham famously came and played for LA Galaxy, and what they're going to look like after what was obviously a very disappointing season for them last year. This year they have no Chicharito, as we know. He went to Chivas, and they have a team that, for all intents and purposes, again, I gotta get a new saying. I don't know why I've said that so many times today, but I think we should win, and we should, or at least put a really good showing on. And so, what do you think that's gonna look like? Like, you've been able to sort of exactly, intents and purposes. What do you think that LA Galaxy is going to bring that's different from last year? Or what do you think we can expect from this game?
All right, so LA Galaxy, as far as the standings are concerned, wasn't really the best team. They actually struggled a lot. They were, let's see here, they were 13th place in the West. And
out of 15 or 14, right? Yeah.
Out of 14, yeah, out of 14. So they're 13th out of 14th. So they didn't do very well. They struggled a lot last season. They're a team that conceded a lot of goals. They conceded 67 goals. That's the most in the Western Conference. And just to add a little perspective to that, the next worst team in regards to goals allowed was Portland at 58. So they've got 9 more than the next worst team at allowing goals. So their defense struggled very much. And apparently it seems as though their defense didn't really get a lot better. So that's something to keep in mind as we watch the next game. Their defense got older. Their CBs got older. They didn't make a lot of big changes, which seems eerily similar to what happened here for us for second, where we got rid of Kamal Miller, and then Kristoff ended up starting. But the good thing is we've got Freire that's coming in, so that should help there. And then we've got Toto Avila. So we're not necessarily going to be very old at the CB position, but LA seems to be that way. One thing I will say about LA is LA got a lot better offensively. So that's something we need to watch out for. They've got Ricky Puig. And it seems like we've been talking a lot about Barca today on today's episode, but Ricky Puig is a guy that came from Barca that started. Baller. Yeah, he is a baller. For some reason, he just didn't get the confidence that I think he deserved over there at Barca, and he was moved over to LA. But that kid is a baller. He's fast. He has really good vision, puts really good passes. He's small, and those small guys sometimes are really tough because of the leverage that they can put on you as a bigger guy. Like, they're tough to get the ball away from. Ricky Puig, man, that guy is a star. So got to watch out for Ricky Puig. And then they went ahead and made 2 signings, 2 new DPs that they got. One is they're actually 2 wingers. One guy is a really good winger from Vasco da Gama, the Brazilian league. And his name is, let's see, what was his name? Okay, so that was Gabriel Peck. He's a Brazilian international. He is a really good winger, really good offensively, scored goals, a lot of goals for a really good team in Vasco da Gama. That was one of the top teams in Brazil. And then you've got Joseph Pintzel that came from the Belgian Pro League. So he's also the other DP. So they got really good offensively. So what I will say is Miami has to watch out. Those mistakes that Inter Miami made in the second half against Salt Lake, where you had Busquets giving up the ball, you had Diego Gomez giving up the ball and giving really bad counters that Salt Lake wasn't able to finish. Yeah, that's not going to happen with LA. LA is going to finish those, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's something that we need to be very careful with, is making sure that defensively we play very well. We're succinct. We close the spaces in between the midfield and the defense, but also that the midfield needs to be very careful with the ball. No more mistakes, because this LA team will capitalize, and it could turn bad really fast for us. It can get really ugly. So I would say, as far as that's concerned, we got to be careful there. But as we move into there, I would say that it's good that we got this win off of our, to start off the season. It helps us and it helps boost our confidence against a match that, even though they didn't do good last season, I think it will be a very competitive match.
Agreed. Yeah, it's interesting you said about Pooch and how he's like a small guy that make a big impact. Someone who didn't not make a big impact that I thought would was Diego Luna on Real Salt Lake.
Yeah,
he was
definitely
really good and young, and I was expecting to see a little bit more out of him, but I think you could expect probably like similar game plan in that sense, where it was someone trying to really make the magic happen in those small tight spaces and exploiting what the defense gives you for those spaces between the midfield and the defense. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we don't know for sure, but like similarly to LAFC last year, I expect there will be some stars at this game, at the LA Galaxy game, who want to see Messi. And, it's Sunday night prime time, 8:30 Eastern time for us. But we will be doing a post-match live stream. So make sure you're going to be tuning in wherever you are. But it should be a good atmosphere, a fun game, a great way to end the first week of MLS games being under the belt. I agree with most of what you said. I think that it's a game where their defense is still probably not as strong as it had been in the past, and our offensive firepower should be able to exploit that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they are going to have a much stronger offense than they've had in the last few years as well. And so we have to make sure we don't let them exploit it. And it's only going to be the first match of seven together. So, hopefully they'll still have that rust and not kind of be able to finish off chances or kind of get the flow. Like we were saying in the post-match Wednesday, I couldn't believe, I could, but like seeing the one-touch passes from Alba to Busquets to Messi to Suarez, like with their eyes closed. And, it's still amazing to see. And they clearly have not missed a beat in terms of like having that just cohesiveness that we're going to hopefully keep seeing. But, in terms of the starting lineup, I think kind of touching on what we talked earlier, do we expect to see any changes, or do we expect to see exactly what we had on Wednesday? We now have Rondo fully signed, Federico Rondo from Argentina, playing in the midfield, and, Busquets came off feeling his ankle a bit. So are we going to see a change there? Are we going to see a change with like Ruiz or Gressel? Are we going to see Frere come back and play, or are we going to keep seeing Christoph? There's a lot of questions. And so I'll start with this one and say that I think we are probably going to have the same starting 11. Maybe, like I said, if Frere is healthy, I think he would get the nod over Christoph, but I don't know 100%. I'm not 100% sure if he traveled with the team, but if he's there and he feels better, I think he probably get the nod over Christoph. Again, we don't know for sure. And then in the midfield, the only question would be if Busquets is not 100%, then maybe you would see either Ruiz or Redondo play for him. But besides that, I think you'll see the same front three. I think you'll see same right and left wing. I think you'll see, Gressel will be playing. I think, a couple things like that, I believe I think Diego Luna will continue to play and start. So that's kind of where I'm at. What about you?
So I think also, Freire, if he can start, if he's there health-wise, I definitely think that he'll start over Christoph. So it all just depends on health, right? how health and how he feels. As far as the midfield is concerned, I think it really, well, first of all, I don't think Redondo is going to play. I would hope that at some point he starts. I think that's what they brought him in for, is to start. But I think that they're probably still waiting on his visa. Last I heard, and some other documents. So I don't know if he'll be ready, and I don't even know if he's practiced yet. So definitely it wouldn't be prudent to put him on the field without practicing, and especially after probably not playing soccer in a bit. So I don't think we'll see him. But as far as the midfield is concerned, that's what I'm unaware of too. I don't know if I'm not sure if he traveled, and I don't even know. He might still.
Well, because he was at this facility, so he should have his visa because he was at the facility for the media yesterday or the day before. So he's in America.
because I know there was I forgot, it's a C something visa, and then there was some other paperwork that he needed to be able to
to
actually
be able to
play.
play.
Yeah, so
Right. Yeah.
I'm not sure where that part is.
So then you
That was
see. And so if
yeah,
it's not Busquets, then maybe it would be Ruiz, but hopefully it is
yeah,
Busquets. And that would
yeah.
be the only thing I would say.
So I feel like the difference, or like the questions for me would be, how concerned is Tata Martino about LA's offense? Because depending on how concerned he is, he might do something where he takes out Robert Taylor and puts shoot, I just had a mental lapse here. Oh, Diego Gomez. There you go. He'll move up Diego Gomez to the left wing like he did in the second half, and
And
then
put
he
more
might put in David.
defensive midfielder.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
put in maybe David Ruiz, maybe like.
Right.
So I think that maybe that could be something that he would do to kind of, even though I will
Rob
say
Taylor
Diego Gomez.
scored.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Robert Taylor scored, but I'm saying like what so like Diego Gomez did a really good job with Busquets. As far as like that in that midfield, they did great. So I don't know if Tata's concern would be that. It would just be going a step more, adding a little bit more defense, and that's the only reason I could see maybe again Robert Taylor coming out, Diego Gomez going in. Yeah, you lose that versatility that Robert Taylor brings again, where he creates his own chances. But at the same time, Diego Gomez on that left wing still produced a goal. Like that lineup produced the goal in the second half, and they produced. Like in the last 15 minutes, there was like 3-4 chances or something like that.
Great
So
chances. Yeah.
you don't lose so much, but you're still able to. You lose a little bit offensively, but you're still able to keep an offensive presence while adding defense to your midfield. So that would be kind of like the only tweak maybe I could see. And then really Gressel. Like I know that people and fans are iffy on Gressel. There's some fans and people that saw that game and said Gressel did good. I saw comments all through social media about Gressel maybe not doing as good as people had hoped. So I don't know. Depends also what Tata saw there. Gressel could be someone he switches up, but again, I don't think he wants somebody. I think Gressel's good as far as, especially for this game, having somebody that's going to stay in the midfield as opposed to losing someone to the offense, because of how you want to make sure that that midfield presence is strong against this LA team and help your defense out. So those would be the only, like, I think switches for me. But other than that, it'll be a very similar team. Definitely. I agree with you as far as what we saw on Wednesday.
Yeah, because I mean the tactics worked, and it looked like the team, they played well cohesively. I'm imagining that's probably what is the main starting unit for practices and for preparation. And so, you know, minus 1 or 2 tweaks based on health, I think that it'll stay the same. I thought Gressel, he, you know, the offensive, it wasn't perfect, but I thought he did a really good job. Like I think he's improved vastly in the beginning of preseason to now. Like I was happy with his performance, and like you said, the first half, the midfield balling. And so hopefully we'll be able to keep it. But it's an exciting game. It's a really great start to the season. It should be a marquee matchup. We're really excited for it. Do you want to give a score prediction?
Yeah, I'll give a score prediction. Just one thing I thought of too is with one more thing, and this I don't think it'll happen, but it would be just Campana starting over Suarez simply because it was a midweek game versus Sunday. So maybe I don't think it'll happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if that did happen.
Maybe. I mean, I doubt it, or if anything, maybe he would come in much earlier than he did, which is like in the 60th minute. You would see Campana instead of 90. But maybe it'll be interesting to see. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm excited for it. I hope Inter Miami continues and shows a really early sort of like show of dominance, where it's like whatever trash you were talking about us in the preseason or the hype or this, that, the other, like we're winning. We are a winning team. We're gonna have a great season. We're strong. We have a lot of great core players. Come at us. So that's what I'm hoping for.
No, I'm excited, man. Sunday night, prime time, Miami, LA. That is cool. Like I'm really excited for this one. And agreed with you. There's definitely going to be stars in the building. It is going to be a fun match.
Good atmosphere.
And
early in the season too, where hopefully there's not too many knocks and you get to just
yeah,
see Pete like he's really going for it.
yeah. I mean, it's an early test for us in the season, so that's good too. To see what we're made of. So I'm excited for that. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a really close game. Two really good offensive teams that both are iffy at the defensive end. So I think it'll be close. Definitely. I think I like our midfield more than theirs. But I would say probably I'm obviously going to go with Inter Miami winning. I really do think they'll win, but I think it'll be shoot, I'm between 2-1 or 3-2.
I know. I'm thinking 2-1.
I'm going 2-1 too. Yeah, I'm going 2-1. That's. I think it'll be. I think it'll be a close game. But with the way my predictions went last season,
when we made our LAFC predictions, I didn't expect us to dominate as much as we did. So hopefully, we'll be pleasantly surprised again.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think there'll be definitely moments where as fans will be sweating. Like they are going to, they're going to get a lot of opportunities.
That's being a fan of Inter Miami.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sweating involved.
Yeah, definitely 2-1. 2-1 is what I'm going with. I think you agree, and it'll be a really close game. It'll be fun, and it'll be like one of those games I feel like they're going to have you on the edge of your seat. It won't be boring at all. Definitely. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So, I mean, by the way, I was freezing on Wednesday at the game. And remember when I say this, when I had a game in July and it's 95 degrees and raining and I want to literally I'll be dripping sweat. I was freezing on Wednesday.
What would you rather though? What would you rather between those two?
Honestly, freezing, because I could have just brought a damn jacket and I didn't, because I'm like, no, like I'll wear my
I went to one of those
jacket. My mom was wearing a puffer jacket and she's like, this was great, and I'm like, well, maybe I should have done that.
I would rather that. Yeah, I agree. You can cover yourself up, because I've been in those monsoon games where it's just too humidity, and I've been suffocating.
My hair is out here.
Yeah, I've had to buy a $25 beer just to not die in that heat, and it's just
I wanted to buy a jacket. I was there. I was like, all right, get yourself a hoodie or something, whatever. I'll get merch. $125 for a zip-up jacket. I'm like, nope, I'll freeze. I don't care. So, but anyways, all right, great. Well, this was, I think, a really great episode for us, where we talked about a lot of fun, interesting topics, some pre-Messi in America, some post-Messi in America, some during Messi, present Messi in America. And so, look, it's the beginning of the season. We're already having a lot of fun. So much to talk about. So many exciting things happening. Lots of great games ahead. Like we said, we will be doing a post-game live stream tomorrow, hopefully after a win and a great performance from the boys. But we're excited, and we hope you are too. Any final thoughts, Gian, before we wrap it up?
Well, just for all intents and purposes, I'd like to. I'd like to say, catch us on YouTube and on all the podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google, everything that Android, all of that. And we're just excited. Hopefully, you can follow us on our social media accounts at Messi and Co. We'll be bringing you guys a lot of content, a lot of interesting tweets, videos. We're going to actually start doing a lot more of those as well. So we're just excited. And make sure you guys hit the like button on the video. That's going to help us get it out to more people. And make sure to subscribe as well. We're just excited to keep interacting with you guys and bringing you guys more Inter Miami and Messi news.
Totally. I couldn't say it better myself. So for this week's edition, or for this preview edition of Messi and Co., I'm Ashley. That is Gian, and we will see you tomorrow.